Alabama, there's a narrative around Nick Saban that this program kind of is on a downwards trajectory. They haven't been in a national championship game in, not too long. It's only been a couple of years, but it seems like everybody kind of is going into 2023 riding off Alabama. How you feeling about the Tide going into 2023?
I don't know why people are riding off the Alabama Christmas Tide for number one. I don't know why you're riding them off. They are the reason why every team plays the way they play right now is physical football. Nick Saban is a great coach. He always retools. He always recruits very well. Always get the top 10, top 5, top 3, top players in the coming out of high school. He knows how to coach them. So just because you didn't make it to the national championship a couple of times doesn't mean it's not a accomplishment. I mean, you get to the playoff or you don't get to the playoff, but they are a predominant school in the SEC that everybody in the SEC wants to be, and that's Alabama. Even though Georgia won the championship back to back times, Alabama's still the team to beat in the SEC. And let's not forget what they have done in the last 10 years. We're not going to just erase what they did in the last 10 years because Georgia won it twice. Like, come on, we just not going to do that. It's unrealistic. Coming
Come
into
on
this
now,
season,
dog.
they're going to do what they do
Come
best,
on,
and that's they're going to run
man.
the football. They're going to manage their quarterback, and they're going to have good receivers. Like they always have good receivers every year coming in. Defense is always stacked. You always have good linebackers and good defensive tackles coming out of Alabama. And it's going to be tough for teams to beat, especially if you're out of the conference. If you're playing out of conference against Alabama, expect domination because out of conference. They win almost every game out of conference, damn near.
And they got a big game against Texas. Now, you remember how Texas nearly beat them last year? They got kind of saved by Bryce Young. And Bryce Young has carried Bama on his back for the past couple of years that he's been a starter there. And, nobody really expected them to upset Georgia going into his first year starting for them when he won the Heisman. You remember what the narrative was? Oh, Alabama's falling off. They had just came off a multiple
Mm.
overtime period win in the Iron Bowl against Auburn, and going into the SEC championship that week, or the SEC championship game that week, there was people who kind of thought that there was a strong chance that Georgia was going to run those boys over with how great that defense was. They had a legendary defense, but Alabama ended up having their
Mm-hmm.
best game of the season. Their offensive line showed up, and they were able to beat Cincinnati in the opening round of the college football playoffs. And, they got trashed by Georgia the second time they played them. But, I don't think, not making it to the college football playoffs and, 1 year just erases everything that Nick Saban and Alabama have done over the last couple of years in college football. They've been the most dominant program in college football, in my opinion. And even though Georgia's coming up, I do feel like Georgia and Alabama still are a little bit neck and neck. I think that Alabama definitely is going to be right back up there with Georgia this year. And I feel like anytime you count out Nick Saban, that's when he ends up getting the most out of his team. And he made some changes to his offense and his defense, over the last couple of years. As you mentioned earlier, Alabama has always had the great receivers. They always wanted to spread you out. But now they're going back to that old school
Mm-hmm.
Bama football where they want to put more emphasis on running the football more, being more dominant up front. And their offensive line should be pretty good. Their offensive line has been their Achilles heel for the last couple of years, but many Bama fans and many people on that coaching staff feel like they got that offensive line ready to play in. Like you said, that defense is normally pretty good. You're going to have a new defensive coordinator in there and Kevin Still. You got him from Miami. And you got
Mm-hmm.
some really good players on defense. You got Kool-Aid McKinstry. You also have Dallas Turner, who is like a damn cyborg. It's like this dude is shredded, man. And in terms of where they rack up in the or rank in the SEC West, do you pick them as the team to win this division and make it to the SEC championship, or do you think that Brian Kelly and LSU is their time? They're the new top dogs in the West.
Well, it got to be on a consistent basis for LSU to beat Alabama. So for me, I think knowing that they lost to LSU last season. Alabama. just to throw that out there, Alabama did lose their offensive coordinator in Bill O'Brien from last year as well, which he's the new New England Patriots offensive coordinator now. So we got to see what that office is going to look like for Alabama this upcoming season. But I still think I still think that Alabama can take the division. Um, the question is, can LSU do it again? That's more of the question because we know Alabama has dominated this division for so long. Just because you beat them one time, it doesn't mean that they haven't dominated the division. I like LSU and I like what they have done and I like what they did when they beat Alabama because it make me happy when Alabama gets beat because I'm an SEC guy. So I mean, at the end of the day, I think everybody want Alabama to be beat, but we got to give respect to Alabama as well because what they have done to make this conference dominant as what it gave everybody else. Like, listen, we got to be up there with these guys. We got to be up there with Alabama. If we got to beat them, we have to get the players to beat them. I mean, so I think they can win the West. I think they can. Absolutely. I think Alabama is going to bounce back from last season. And I think they're going to go back to what they know, and that's being dominant up front.